Alright, so what we're going to work on today is to make one good working Simplicity snowblower out of these two. The one on the left here is a little bit older and it has a Briggs and Stratton engine, and I'm not liking it. There's some issues with it, but the rest of the snowblower is in wonderful condition. The snowblower on the right is Tecumseh engine, and the plan right now is to take whatever parts I can off of this ugly looking thing and move it over to here, primarily the engine. The chute, that's a different issue. I'm not quite sure about the chute. We've got a short fat chute there and a skinny taller chute there, but she's pretty rust covered, so we might just save that for a different project. But again, primarily we're looking at moving this black engine to replace that white engine. And because it's a Briggs versus a Tecumseh, I'm sure the holes won't line up, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. Okay, to start with, we've got the snowblower that's in good paint condition in the garage, and we're going to start taking that engine off. First thing I want to do is to take this cover off and get the belts and all that out of there. Then we'll work on getting the linkage off the engine, and then we'll have to flip this thing upside down and get the engine mounting bolts off of that, so we can get this engine pulled. Alright, so it looks like they use big flathead screws on the sides. Just gotta loosen them up a little bit. I should lift this off. Let's take a closer look. Alright, so I'm going to take this belt keeper off of here, and then we're going to get these belts off, and that will be it for this part. And we just got a 1/2 inch wrench. One on the other side. And there we go. Let's see about getting these belts off. Alright, that's one. And this other one is a lot tighter and it's in the back, so I'm going to try to release the tension off of this pulley. Alright, well, there it is. Well, I don't think it's going to go over that. Let's release it from underneath. Alright, so to get underneath, we got a 3/8 inch socket. And that was that. Alright, so that belt that we wanted to loosen up, it's on this pulley here. And I think I can ignore that belt for now. If I just loosen the engine mounting bolts there, over here, down there, and back here, I might be able to tip the engine forward and loosen the belt on the pulley in front that way. So on the engine side of this bolt, there's nuts, so we need to get a wrench and a socket or something to start loosening this engine up. Alright, so we got 1/2 inch socket here and a 1/2 inch wrench on the other side. That's one. That's two. That's three. And now there's only one bolt holding this engine on. Let's see what happens. And the engine's hanging. All right. Let's stand this thing up. See what happens. Alright, what I think happened to prevent the engine from coming off was the oil drain pipe got caught in the rod here, so that actually kind of saved us. So, if we tip it forward, you can get the belt off. Okay. And doesn't look like there's any linkage from the handlebars down to the engine. So there it is. Well, the engine is off. Alright, now we'll clean it up and find out what we can do about the holes on there. Since this is a Briggs and Stratton engine and we're going to put a Tecumseh engine on it, maybe we'll get lucky and find out that Simplicity put holes for both engines on there. Alright, now we've got the second snowblower in the shop, the one we're going to take the engine off, the Tecumseh engine, and I won't bore you with the details because the process is the same as what you just saw. But when I get this one off, we'll come right back. Alright, with that last bolt removed, we're going to tip the engine forward to get that belt off of there and lift it off the unit. Okay, so now with both engines side by side on the floor, I want to show you the difference between the shafts. You can tell the Briggs and Stratton definitely sits higher than the Tecumseh. So we're going to have to figure out what length belt works best. Hopefully the belts that came off of the Tecumseh will work on the Simplicity we're trying to get running. And hopefully the holes line up. The engine mounting bolts hole line up. So otherwise these two units look almost identical, and I think we'll be able to just leave this one on there when we put it on the new machine. So onward. Alright, so looking at the two snowblowers and where the engines were, this is where the Briggs and Stratton was, and you can see this is where the mounting holes were for the Briggs engine, and then there and there. But you'll see these other holes were pre-drilled by the factory. If we step over to this one, we've got these holes here where the Tecumseh was mounted, and I'm hoping that it'll line up with maybe that hole and that hole, except I see there's something in the way there. So maybe it's going to be that hole and that hole. But we'll measure it, make sure. I'm pretty confident we won't have to be drilling any of our own holes. Alright, so I took the belts off of both of the snow blowers and lined them up together, and you can see the belts from the Tecumseh engine are definitely a little bit shorter than the belts on the Briggs and Stratton engine. So we're obviously going to use the shorter belts because we're using a Tecumseh engine. Let's get to her. Alright, so to get the belts off, or at least a smaller belt off of this part of the pulley, when I unbolted the engine, I was able to tip the engine and loosen up the belt. But considering that belt is going to have to be replaced sometime in the future, it's not going to be real convenient to be unbolting the engine just to change a belt. So I'm going to, while I have it out of the machine, I'm going to work on getting this off of here, and then kind of lubricate this up and just make sure that in the future it'll slide on and off a little bit more easily. So let's see what we can do here. And the other engine, if you notice here, the shaft of the Briggs is much bigger than the shaft of the Tecumseh. But I'm thinking about scrapping this engine, and I'm saving this though. Those things are not cheap if you can even find them anymore. So alright, let's see what we can do about these things. Alright, first and foremost, this one has a set bolt there with a square head. So we'll have to loosen that. And then, well, we could put a puller on this. We could put a little bit of PB Blaster or other kind of lubricant. We could heat it up. But let's see what will happen if we just take this off first. And it's a 5/16. Alright. I'm just going to take it completely out. Tap on that a little bit, see what happens. Put a little PB Blaster in there. Or instead of PB Blaster, I have a product called Free All I've used before. And my can doesn't seem to be spraying very well. Time for a new can. Give it a couple of wraps. I don't want to hit it too hard though, because that's also hitting the crankshaft, and that's not cool. Ooh, yes. Easier than I thought it would. Put some welding gloves on. There we go. Alright, we're going to let everything cool down. And we're going to clean up the shaft here. Clean this up a little bit inside. And get back to her. I know I'm using the wrong wire wheel, but that's all I got for now. Looks pretty good. And that thing's that thing's a little bit too hot yet to handle, so I'll wait on that. Alright, so I spent a little time over there on the bench grinder with the wire wheel, and man, that thing cleaned up pretty nice compared to what it looked like before. Here's the one that came off the Briggs. I'll clean this one up too. Save it for some other project, but there we go. I'll get it, put it back on here. Or I'll tell you what, we'll wait to put it back on there until we get this back on the machine. And we'll clean up the keyway a little bit. Oh, it's really tight. Tight is good, so we don't want to overdo it. There we go. I can tap the rest in with a little bit of force, but we want her snug. This thing is still too hot to touch with my bare hands. But I can't wait. I want to get this job done. It's fun. Alright, let's put the engine back in place. She's a tight fit, but I know it'll work. And of course I got to line up the different holes that are down there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, because I can reach in from inside because the bottom's off of here. Reach in and feed the first bolt up through the deck and into here, and then put the first nut on, and that will hold the engine in place while I then flip this whole thing up and put the rest of the bolts in. Alright, let's see how tough this will be. Well, let me shift it. Move that pulley underneath. Ah, there it is. Come on now. There we go. Got new washers and new nuts. And there we go. It's the start. Alright, now with the engine held in place by that one bolt right there, we're going to put in the other 3 bolts. We might have to wiggle the engine around a little bit. There we go. That's one. Making sure it comes out the other side where it's supposed to. And there's one down here. And then we're going to get the other one here. So all we have to do is shift so we can reach in there and get that last bolt. Okay, so now we'll go top side. Alright, so I've got all the nuts started on the other side. New nuts, new washers and stuff. So now we're just going to snug everything down. By the way, these are 1/2-inch nuts and bolts. Or I should say 1/2-inch sockets and wrenches. Alright. Alright, now we get to see if we could I'm going to grease this up. Get a little grease on here. That was sticking out a little bit. Kind of got to make sure it's nice and straight up and down. Yeah, this belt seems to be a little tight. There we go. Now it's not tight. Alright, like I said, just kind of make sure that look straight down, make sure that the belts are straight up and down from the pulleys down below. Too much. And then we're going to tighten that set screw up and go from there. Again, this is a 5/16. All right, I think that's good. All right. So as you can see from the mess I've got going on here, I'm doing a little tire swap. And these are the tires that were on the snowblower I'm trying to restore, or at least get back up and running. These are the tires that were on the donor snowblower. And I tell you what, the donor snowblower right there, I could not get that off of there. I heated it up, I banged on it, I pounded on it, I put in all kinds of lubricants and tried to release that, and that thing will not budge. So I finally just took the rubber off, and on this unit they both came off pretty easily. I'll clean them up before I put them back on, but I put that rubber on the rims, that sucker just would not come off. Alright, so I did just replace the carburetor on the engine, the Tecumseh engine, because it sat for so long. The carburetor that was on there was just toast, and I happen to have a new one in stock. So there it is. And well, let's fire it up, see if it works. Gas is on, throttle's up, choke. Alright, so there we go. We got the Simplicity 860, the older model. with the newer Tecumseh engine on it. I took the wheels off the other unit and upgraded. I put the black plastic on here instead of the white that was there. But there's the carcass of the old one. And now we wait for snow. So here we are. Thanks for watching.